Hey Toyia, hey ladies. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be part of the summit and answer your questions.
My question would be to them is, what is their position on gun control and gun reform in America right now?
Yeah, that's actually an issue that is at the forefront of my mind as I think about the most recent events just in our community. I mean, you look at 2 months ago, the senseless shooting on Main Street, OTR, where 9 people were shot. And then most recently, Coach Knox, football coach in College Hill last week, um, gets shot in front of his football team of kids, um, dead right on the spot. It's senseless and it's tragic. It's a travesty for our community. So my position on gun reform is that we definitely have to work as a state in order to limit the gun violence that's out there. But a way to do that has to balance two things. Okay. To write good laws, right? We want to be able to impact positive change, in this case, public safety. We want to be able to increase public safety, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our rights as law-abiding Americans, right, our constitutional rights are not infringed, or another word that aren't prevented from being exercised. Because for those law-abiding people, we need to protect their rights. But at the same time, those that aren't law-abiding, how do we make sure that they don't go out and commit these senseless acts? So one piece of legislation that I'm really interested in looking into is called a red flag law. Some states have it. I believe 13 states already have these sort of laws, but Ohio doesn't. There are bills that looks to implement a red flag law, but a red flag law, what it essentially is it allows for specific people, mainly family members, if they see signs, right, red flags that a person may be posing an imminent danger or an imminent threat, that they're going to use a gun or a firearm to commit some sort of wrongful act with that gun. They're going to shoot someone, they're going to kill someone. If these family members see these red flags, these types of laws would allow those family members to go to a judge and say, Judge, so and so presents a imminent risk to this potential prospective victim or to this member of the community. Judge, what can you do? And under these red flag laws, the judge would be able to confiscate, take away that accused person's gun. And some laws, would prevent that person from owning a gun for a specific amount of time, like, a year, or won't even allow them to purchase a gun, for a year or however long the judge decides to impose that restriction. That, would allow for, senseless and terrible acts using a firearm to potentially not happen, right? Because it empowers people closest to the accused person to be able to step in and protect the community and protect the would-be victim.
With our public schools consistently failing us, what do you plan on doing to improve education of students?
Along with the gun violence education, and the fact that, you look at Cincinnati public schools, the report card came out the state report card that grades schools. And Cincinnati Public School is not even hitting minimum standards. I think it's a 2-star out of 5 stars. That's sad, especially because we spend a lot of money as a state on our public education, that to produce that sort of result, it's not the responsibility of just one person. It really requires help from all across, government and the administration of the schools, teachers, parents, especially, in order to increase the success of our public school system. So, what do I plan to do to improve education for students? One, it's to first empower parents, to make the best educational decision for their kids. Public school is not for everybody. There are other routes for education, and our laws should be able to empower those parents to make those decisions and to receive the same financial support from the state if they decide that their child, for example, fits better in a charter school. There are great charter schools out there. There's some lousy charter schools out there. But I visited a charter school a couple of weeks ago here in Cincinnati, Don School. And Don School has these campuses, and they have, each of them has a focus. Well, one of the schools has a program called Keeping Teen Moms in School, KITMIS. And it's for teen moms, just as it sounds, teenagers that are moms that are either expecting a child or have already delivered a child, and they want to finish a high school education. Well, they can't do that through the public school system. Some of them are over the age of 18, or some of them can't afford childcare or don't have childcare in order to go to school and do that. What does the KITMIS program do at Don School? It allows them to go to school while there's childcare, a daycare in the school for them to drop off their kid, and then they go to school. They also provide them diapers, and there's even one girl that grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and she reached the age of 21. She was a teen mom, and she wanted to really finish her high school education. There was no school that would enable her to finish her high school education in Baltimore. So what did she do? She went all the way. She moved all the way to Cincinnati, Ohio, to go to Don's School in order to finish her high school education. So there are schools out there, not just charter school, but private school. If a parent wants to homeschool their child, if that's the best educational route for the child, then we should be able to support that through our laws, through funding. That if the child is not best suited for public education, look, I want to be clear though, that public education should be our first best choice. Why? Because we as a state say that educating a child is so important that we are willing to invest millions of dollars in public education to do that. So it should be the first best choice, because taxpayers, Ohioans that live and work in Ohio, pay taxes in order for those taxes to then go to funding those public schools. Well, because of that, it should be the first best choice. But if it's not for the child, because it's not for every child, just like charter school is not for every child, or private school is not for every child, or homeschool is not for every child. If public school is not for a specific child, and their parent decides to send them to this other form of education, then our laws should be so that that money that taxpayers pay that goes to the state should then be able to follow that child, So I'm looking at bills that seek to do that. There's a bill there called the Backpack Bill. But that's one way to improve education, right? It's to provide the best source of education specific to the child.
My question is, the economic state of the world or of America right now declining due to COVID. So how are we going to spur the economy in Ohio?
Specifically, I want to just touch on one specific area of the economy, because the economy can go to a lot of things, right? Like jobs or price of X, Y, and Z. But there's one area that I have been focusing on, and that's housing. Look, there's a problem specifically in Cincinnati that rent, the price to rent a house, a room, whatever, rent has gone through the roof, and with rent going up, a lot of people can't afford that rent. And what's an alternative to rent? Well, it's to buy a house, to buy your own home, be able to live in it and take care of it as your own, because that payment to own that home, the mortgage, right, is typically less than what rent would be, especially now with rent being so high. It's in people's best interest to own a home in order to build wealth through ownership of a home that they actually own, a tangible asset that they actually own, and at the same time not have to pay such high rent in order to do that, But there's a problem in Cincinnati specifically, where not only is rent high, but home ownership is low. And one of the problems why it's low is because a lot of people don't have access to because to buy a home, right, you need really a series of things. One is you got to have money, cash, a down payment in order to say to a bank, okay, hey, loan me $200,000 so I can buy a home. And the bank says, okay, well, we're going to give you $200,000, but you need to have some skin in the game. So what can you bring? And that, buyer says, well, I can put in 10% of that $200,000, so $20,000. Well, that person needs $20,000 in order to basically say, look, I'm in this. I want to buy this home. You don't have to fit the whole $200,000. I'm coming with $20,000. So in return, the bank only gives $180,000. So a lot of people don't have that money for that, down payment. Another thing too, that another factor to buy a home is you need to have a good enough credit score. Well, some people don't have a high credit score. There's a lot of factors that makes up a credit score, but a lot of people, just don't have that good enough credit score. So those are two problems that if we can solve, we'd be able to put people, instead of high rental space, into good, decent home ownership, that they can then use that as their investment throughout the years. They're owning a home, they're fixing it up, it's theirs, and that home is growing in value through the years, and they see the benefit of that growth in value. So how do you fix that? Well, one way is for the down payment thing. There are ways to write laws so that people are receive some support from the government in order to do that. What some ways is that we can write our tax laws in such a way where if a person is saving specifically for a down payment to buy a home, that they be able to receive some sort of tax benefit from it, whether that money could then be, if someone saves $10,000 to buy a home, then that $10,000 can be offset, can be taken away from their taxable income. So now they don't have to be taxed as high because a portion of their earnings from their job is going to pay for a home. That's one way to incentivize people to save for a home and do it in a way that uses the tax laws to do that, a creative way to use tax laws to do that. So one of the things that I'll make a focus of mine when elected to state senate is to listen to your generation and to listen to the concerns that you have, so that when those issues are brought up, we can then together in the State House come to solutions in order to address those issues. So that's what I would offer to you guys. Be involved, be excited about learning about government and politics, because who knows where your road will lead one day. Feel free to contact me anytime. My email address is Orlando, ORLANDO, at orlandosonza.com. ORLANDO, my last name SONZA.com. And I will respond to you as soon as I can, answer any of your questions, listen to any of your ideas. And I hope to be a resource to you guys or your friends or family, because that's what elected officials or those that are trying to be elected officials should do, right? There should be an open door for help, or just a source of information for, but most importantly, a voice for the people that they seek to represent, right? So, yeah, I welcome you guys reaching out. So, Toyia, thanks so much. Thank you for just inviting me to be a part of this. Thank you for participating alongside with me. I enjoyed answering your questions. I hope they were helpful. But thank you so much for coming up with some really awesome questions that are really at the heart of what is going on in our community. All the questions that you brought up are issues that are at the forefront of not just my mind, but a lot of people's mind in our community. So I want to thank you for that. So thank you very much. Have a great night, and God bless you all. Take care.